And now she's back in the headlines.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece.
The 7 investigators have obtained the recordings that county officials say prompted Judge Ryan's removal.
Oh. He's just I have no use for him. I can honestly say that, okay, I'm not systemically racist, I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about.
Welcome back to another episode of We the People University. My name is Abiyah Israel, former police officer and former sheriff's deputy. Wow. A Detroit, Michigan judge by the name of Kathleen Ryan is removed from the bench, pending an investigation into what's really going on with her outburst. All right, here in a second, we're going to take a look at the video that's showing this Detroit, Michigan judge who kind of has a problem with certain people. But before we get further into that, I want to read an email from one of the viewers who has a question. And I believe this viewer is from the state of Ohio. And then we're going to jump into the video. The email states, "Hey Abiyah, longtime YouTube watcher, first time emailer here. I have a question for you. I live in Ohio. Would my license be suspended for a year if I have not been drinking, get pulled over, and then refuse the roadside sobriety test, but tell the officer, hey, let's go downtown and I'll blow into your big machine to prove that I have not been drinking. And then when it shows all zeros, I'm good to go, right? Of course, it would take up some time for me, but still show that I am innocent of DUI. No. In the eyes of an officer, you're not innocent of DUI. They're trying to prove with everything in them that you are guilty. I would not suggest volunteering going down to the station, but because it's a good chance you might not leave the station because you're under arrest. So if a police officer pulls you over, just keep it really simple. Okay, if you know you have not been drinking, and again, this email comes from a previous video we covered concerning DUI and field sobriety tests. And I want to say this really quickly. If you have been drinking, this is not me trying to help you get out of a DUI. You should not be driving. But if you know you have not been drinking, and for whatever reason, the police officer suspects you of DUI, because it could be for a number of different reasons. It could be because you're having a medical emergency, because certain diabetic medical emergencies mimic DUI. But for whatever reason it is, you know that you have not been drinking, refuse the field sobriety test. Okay, again, they only are used to collect evidence against you at trial. Have there been people to pass the field sobriety test at some point in history? Yes, of course. There's always an exception to the rule. But generally speaking, this is not a pass or fail test. It's only designed to collect evidence. So therefore, you want to refuse the field sobriety test, and that forces the officer to make a decision. He has to ask himself, do I have enough probable cause to arrest this individual? And if he says no, then he's going to let you go. But if he says yes, then he still may place you under arrest because he believes that he has enough probable cause due to whatever he's seen that you are DUI. For example, bloodshot, watery, glassy eyes, and you can't walk straight. Your speech is slurred. If he smells the odor of alcohol emitting from your breath, things that he would believe that will cause you to be a driver that is DUI. So he still may arrest you. The reason you're refusing field sobriety test is because you want to make your attorney's job easier. Okay, you don't want to add anything that could be used against you when you go to court. Now, again, your speech could be slurred for several reasons. Again, it could be a medical emergency. You could walk funny because you have a bum knee. I mean, your eyes could be red because you're tired. There are several things that an officer can look at you and state that, hey, you're DUI. Now, if he smells alcohol emitting from your breath, then possible. But remember this, it's not illegal to drink and drive. And I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and drink and drive, but it's not illegal to drink and drive. It's illegal to drive while being intoxicated. Okay, so if you go to lunch and you have a steak and you have a glass of wine, you're not intoxicated. That's not to say you can't drive home. If that's the case, no one would ever leave a restaurant, right? So I will end with this. Never volunteer to go down to the police station place that officer in the position where he needs to make a decision, because you know you have not been drinking and driving, you're not DUI, therefore you're not going to voluntarily give him any space to arrest you. But with that being said, let's jump into this video. Guys, leave your comments down below. I'm a little curious to see what you guys think about this one. Let's check this out.
With a judge who makes life-altering decisions for families and those with disabilities, now accused of making racist comments and using shocking, derogatory language. Thank you for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Mike Duffy. 7 investigator Heather Catallo joins us now with more about why an Oakland County probate judge has been removed from her docket. Heather?
Mike, a high-ranking probate court official says he's been recording Judge Kathleen Ryan's statements for years. Even though probate court administrator Edward Hutton says he's been harassed by Judge Ryan, he says he does not want this to be about him. Hutton says he's coming forward now because he wants to protect the people who have to face Judge Ryan in the courtroom.
The Honorable Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated.
After more than 13 years on the bench, Oakland County Chief Probate Pro Tem Judge Kathleen Ryan is out of her courtroom. Chief Probate Judge Linda Hallmark removed Judge Ryan from her docket last week, announcing that a complaint about internal allegations of unprofessional conduct was sent to the Judicial Tenure Commission. Judge Ryan was arrested in 2021 for domestic violence, but those charges were later dismissed.
So let's not sit here and pretend like since the chief probate judge Linda Hallmark removed Judge Ryan that Linda Hallmark is some hero, because we're going to find out later she knew about this at least for a small period of time and did nothing until I would guess until she was forced to do so. But another disturbing fact is that, did you hear what they just said? The judge committed domestic violence and it was later just dismissed. But this is the same judge, or these judges are the same people who myself or you would go in front of. And if you commit domestic violence or break any law for that matter, would it simply be dismissed? Not necessarily. But we kind of see, you know, how the pat on the back or the favoritism game goes when we're looking at this. So we're fighting this fight against tyranny and the policing in America. But yet, in a lot of cases, a lot of times, we have to actually worry about the judge who's overseeing the case.
And now she's back in the headlines.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of.
The 7 investigators have obtained the recordings that county officials say prompted Judge Ryan's removal.
Oh, he's just I have no use for him.
She's made it a living hell in the past 6 years. I mean, it's been terrible. It's cost me relationships. I think it's affected my health. Can't sleep.
Attorney Edward Hutton is the Oakland County Probate Court Administrator. He's in charge of running everything that's not under the judge's purview inside one of the state's largest probate courts. Hutton alleges Judge Ryan has been calling him both during work and after hours for years. And Hutton says during those hours and hours of calls, Judge Ryan said highly inappropriate things. Why did you start recording the calls?
I just felt like it wasn't going to change. Nothing's manipulated in it. It's conversations that I was a part of, and I'm absolutely willing to testify to the authenticity of every single one of them.
So I'll be honest, I've said it several times on this channel. The whole racial thing never bothers me. I won't give it the time of day, but I can't say that for everybody. You know, everybody doesn't think on, you know, the same wavelength. It doesn't bother me, but it may bother someone else. And to know that a judge that's overseeing cases has this type of mindset, now that may bother me because you're going to be biased in your judgments. And so I'm glad this guy recorded the calls. Obviously in the state that he recorded them was legal to do so, but I'm glad he recorded the calls. It's the same reason we tell you guys time and time again, if you have an encounter with police, record them, because without these recordings, nothing is done. Hopefully we can see that recording helps.
I can honestly say that, okay, I'm not systemically racist, I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am, because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am and you've never met me. You. You.
Hutton says the judge also used homophobic slurs about other elected officials.
You know,
And that's not all.
A lot of times they were conversations about sexual encounters that she's having with various individuals. I mean, in intimate detail.
Hutton says for years he felt like he had to play along, and he says for years he was afraid to speak up.
I didn't want to lose my job, and I didn't want to be in her crosshairs. It's such a David and Goliath situation. I don't have the power. I'm not elected. I could get fired tomorrow.
On May 24th, Hutton says he sent Chief Judge Linda Hallmark a notice of sexual harassment.
For 3 months, nothing happened.
That's why on August 22nd, Hutton says he decided to send the recordings to the Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, Oakland County Executive David Coulter, and other public officials. And he also contacted me.
I just want to make it right. I haven't filed a lawsuit. I'm not looking for a payday. I want to keep my job and do it in peace. And I want the people in Oakland County that come to court to get a fair shake, to have their day in court, to have an unbiased trier of fact.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups. Once the recordings were shared with those state and county officials, Judge Ryan was removed from her docket. In a statement, County Executive Coulter said, quote, there is absolutely no place for harassment of any kind or for racist or homophobic language by anyone at Oakland County, especially by someone the public must be confident will act fairly and impartially. The alleged conduct and abhorrent comments made by Judge Ryan merited her removal from the probate court docket pending further investigation.
Again, pending further investigation. What are we investigating? An investigation is so you can find out what's going on. It's to get the information, to gather the evidence. You have everything. You have it. I don't understand when it comes down to law enforcement or even judges, when all of the evidence is right in front of you, you have to investigate. Well, a police officer just body slammed a guy because, I don't know, he wanted his ID. Oh, he just shot the guy in the leg because he wanted his ID. Oh, he just beat the guy with his baton because he wanted his ID. We have it all on video. We've seen it with our own eyes. We heard everything that was stated, but we need to investigate further to see what the hell are you investigating? It's on record.
Is Judge Ryan fit to be on the bench?
Absolutely not. Nobody with that much hate in their heart for certain people or certain groups of people, I don't believe that they could possibly make fair, unbiased decisions regarding them.
I did reach out to Judge Kathleen Ryan to talk to her about this. Her attorneys sent me this statement that says, quote, we respect the authority of the Michigan Supreme Court. However, we look forward to vindicating Judge Ryan in the appropriate forum. I also spoke to probate judge Daniel O'Brien. He says Judge Ryan's friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character for her.
All right, certainly a lot here, but what's next with the Judicial Tenure Commission?
Well, they cannot confirm or deny whether they are pursuing an investigation. There has been some reporting that suggested that the complaint against the judge involved an inappropriate personal relationship. Hutton says that is not true. He says there was no physical contact. This was strictly a sexual harassment complaint about her alleged comments that started all of this. But again, he says the bigger issue here is what the judge says about people in protected classes, and he's hoping that that is what the JTC will focus on. So everybody's just sort of waiting to see what they will do.
And it's always the friend of the cop, or in this case, the friend of the judge, who says, well, that's out of character. He or she really doesn't believe what they just finished stating. They were just saying something. Maybe it was a bad day, but we don't get to have bad days where we can just do something to someone, break a law, or just treat someone any type of way. We don't get to have those type of bad days. Now, I agree wholeheartedly. First Amendment. This is why it doesn't bother me what she said, because she has a right to say it. She has a First Amendment right like any of the rest of us. But the problem in this particular situation is you're a judge and you're overseeing other cases. And there are going to be black people who come into your courtroom. There are going to be white people. There are going to be Hispanic people and Asian people. There's just going to be people, damn it, that come into your courtroom, and you have to look at all of them the same way. But with that type of mindset, yes, you have a First Amendment right, but in this case, the First Amendment right for you exposed what type of mindset and what type of character you really have. And that's the true problem behind this situation. Okay. And not to mention that it went past racial slurs into slurs talking about people who are gay, and you're calling them different type of crazy names. Okay. So what happens when they come into your courtroom? Are they not going to get a fair shot? This judge definitely needs to be removed from the bench. She is not worthy to be a judge. She's not worthy to oversee anyone. And I'm still curious to what happened with that domestic violence case. Why did she get off? But anyway, this is a good reason why, and a good example of why you always record, not just the police, I guess judges too, if you have to. Make sure you're doing it right in the legal way, but always record, because you just never know when you need the information, need the recording. You know, this definitely helps. Make sure you know your rights and always record. With that being said, We the People University signing off. If you're one of the viewers who reached out saying that you're not getting any of the We the People University notifications, I have a solution. By texting WTPU to 844-764-2158, I can personally notify you whenever we publish videos. Text WTPU to 844-764-2158 and you will receive a text message notification with the link every time we publish a video.